is that we're looking at a two-phase construction site in many of the so-called Inca stone monuments. And that the Inca structures sit on top of much more ancient rock-cut structures.
For centuries, travelers, scholars, and explorers have stood before the big stone walls of the Inca and asked how they were built with such difficult precision. These stones fit together so tightly that not even a razor blade can slide between them. For years, theories spread from harsh forced labor's help to lost civilizations, or even something beyond our understanding. But now, advanced AI has entered the topic, checking details in ways no human eye ever could. Could this breakthrough finally expose the secret behind the Inca's shocking stone walls? Join us in this video as we discuss the details. AI reveals how the Inca stone walls were built. Recent years have seen the use of modern technology to the study of Inca stonework, with artificial intelligence offering shocking, deep views. Researchers have found items that were not easily seen to the naked eye by closely checking and scanning the walls. AI has shown that the stones were not just cut once and kept in place. The builders, on the other hand, were always working on the stones until they reached an almost impossible level of perfection, because many of them were changed a lot of times. The space between the stones are so tiny that they can be measured in bits of millimeters, according to measurements made using cutting-edge tools. We normally get this level of precision with modern machines when exact shaping of stone or metal is gotten by computer-guided tools. It begs the question of how such accuracy was obtained when there were no machines or other tools, given that such results may be found on old walls. The fact that the stones weren't arranged at random is another finding made possible by AI. Each stone was carefully chosen to add to the overall solidity of the walls, which were meant to be cohesive structures. A better level of architectural understanding was shown by the shapes, sizes, and even angles, which were all a part of a bigger plan. This shows that, even though without computers as we know them today, the Incas would have been using planning methods that are somehow like the modern computer-aided design. The stones were a part of a design that engineers of today are only now starting to understand, instead of being put together. Also, latent geometric linkages within the stones have been uncovered via AI analysis. Better mathematical ideas, some of which were not even found in Europe until years later, are shown in many of the angles and arrangements. The walls look like they have been styled with deep knowledge of geometry, proportions, and balance. Such findings challenge the old view of the Inca as a civilization without written language or advanced mathematics. The structures themselves may have been their form of recorded knowledge, holding information in stone that was passed down not through writing, but through physical creation. All these findings have left researchers with more questions than answers. How did the Inca get this level of precision without new tools? How were they able to move, cut, and fit big stones with tolerances that challenges today's engineering? And perhaps most importantly, how much knowledge has been lost to history, hidden inside these walls that still stand as a quiet testimony to a people whose understanding of stone, geometry, and construction may have been far greater than we have ever thought. If new artificial intelligence has brought to the open that the Inca had no advanced tools to cut or polish these big stones, then how exact, precise, and hard is the design inside their ancient walls? Let's delve deeper. The astonishing precision of Inca stone walls. The old Inca stone walls stand as one of the most shocking successes in human history. These stones, found in places like Machu Picchu and across the Andes, show a level of precision and skill that looks almost impossible when one thinks about the tools available at the time. The walls were built without the use of cement or mortar, yet the big stones fit together so well that not even the edge of a razor blade or the thin surface of a credit card can pass through between them. Each stone, some weighing a lot and others reaching up to 200 tons, was carved and put in such a way that it locked with the others like pieces of a giant three-way puzzle. Many of these stones were cut with angles, curves, and difficult shapes which helped them to fit in ways that are hard even with today's technology. What makes this even more shocking is that these stones have stood strong for over 500 years. Earthquakes, storms, and landslides that have destroyed other buildings have not managed to bring down the Inca walls. Instead, the walls are still standing strong, still fitting together as if they had been built yesterday. The lack of mortar meant there was nothing to break over time, and the perfect fitting of the stones created an enduring strength that new architects still study with surprise. Yet when one looks at the tools the Inca had, the shock only increases. Archaeologists have only found bronze chisels, wooden wedges, and simple stone hammers. None of these tools are capable of cutting through andesite, the stone most often used, with the kind of precision seen in these walls. Andesite is far harder than bronze, which makes it nearly impossible to imagine how the stones could have been shaped so perfectly. To add to this puzzle are surfaces on some stones that look like mirrors. Creating such smooth and shiny surfaces would have needed a lot of hours of grinding with modern abrasives or unknown ways far beyond the level of technology that history gives to the Inca. Attempts to recreate the techniques using replica tools have failed. In the 70s, researchers experimented with the same bronze chisels and hammers, only to find that these tools were too soft and ineffective to replicate the clean cuts, sharp angles, and smooth finishes seen in Inca stonework. Even after hours of effort, the results did not come close to what the ancient builders had achieved. The more these walls are studied, the more it becomes clear that the methods used remain an unsolved mystery. No detailed records from the Inca explain how the walls were built, and modern science has not been able to provide a clear answer. The stone walls, with their unmatched precision and the complete absence of adequate tools to explain them, leave behind a question that continues to puzzle experts. Did the Inca have knowledge that has since been lost, or were they using techniques that we have yet to rediscover? The mystery of their construction remains a silent challenge from the past, daring modern civilization to solve what has remained unsolved for centuries. If the Inca builders achieved such incredible precision in their stone walls, then how do we explain the moments when the quality seemed to decline and theories of hidden techniques began to appear? Keep watching for more. The decline of quality and theories of lost techniques. Over time, people who have studied the Inca walls have seen something very important, and that is the fact that not all the walls look the same. In some places, especially in the center of the kingdom during its strongest years, the stonework is so perfect that it almost looks like a dream. The blocks fit together like pieces of a puzzle, with no space at all between them. Even after hundreds of years of earthquakes, storms, and the slow wearing away that comes with time, these walls remain strong. They look as if they were built yesterday, even though they were made centuries ago. But in other places, especially in areas that look like it was built later, the story is very different. Instead of perfectly cut-out blocks, we see stones that are smaller, less normal, and not almost fitted. Sometimes the lower part of a wall shows the classic fine Inca style, but the upper parts are clearly rougher and less precise. This change in quality tells us something important about the life of the kingdom itself. Most researchers believe that the most perfect stonework was built when the Inca Empire was at its strongest, when there were many workers, plenty of resources, and a government that could plan big projects. But as time went on, the empire faced issues. Power began to go away. Wars and political issues grew, and by the time the Spanish came in the early 1500s, the Inca world was already very weak. In this later time, there may not have been enough skilled builders, or there may not have been enough time or resources to build at the same level of perfection. The fall in quality, then, is not just about the walls themselves, but is also about the fall of the kingdom and the hard times it was going through. Because the Inca stone walls look so amazing, people have often wondered if there was some hidden trick or secret that has been lost to history. Over the years, one unusual idea has been passed around. and it says that the Inca may have used special natural substances to soften stone. Based on this thought, there might have been some plants or types of acidic water that could make stone less hard and easier to carve. If that were true, then maybe the Inca did not need to spend so much time hitting stone with stone, because the material itself would have been very soft. It is an interesting idea, and it has gotten the interest of many people who like to think about mysteries. But the problem is that there is no real proof for it. Experts have not found chemical traces or any kind of proof that would back up the story. The idea stays like a legend, a story that people like to tell instead of a real fact backed up by science. If the visible decline and mysterious theories leave us wondering, then what does the hard evidence from quarries, experiments, and expert insights actually reveal about how the Inca shaped and moved their stones? Let's find out. Evidence from quarries, experiments, and experts' insight. In contrast, the strongest evidence we have comes from the quarries, where the Inca actually cut their stones. One very important quarry is the Lama Pit Quarry, and it has given researchers many clues. At this site, blocks of stone have been found in many different stages of being shaped. Some are still attached to the bedrock, as if the workers never finished cutting them free. Others are partly shaped, showing that they were being prepared to move. And around these half-complete stones, experts have found the very tools that were used: simple hammerstones made from hard rocks like quartzite. These findings tell us something very clear. The Inca really did shape their stones with nothing more than harder stones. The big hammerstones were used first to knock off big parts and create the general shape, and then smaller hammerstones were used to slowly smooth and finish the surfaces. Some blocks even show rows of small holes, which suggest that workers used a repeated striking method to split larger stones into smaller, more useful pieces. This direct proof makes it much easier to understand the process, and it shows that the builders depend more on patience and hope than on lost magical tools. To check these ideas, researchers have tried to copy the ways of the Inca. One of the most important tests was done in 1993 by Jean-Pierre Protzen, who wanted to see if hammerstones alone could really shape stone the way Inca walls show. What he discovered was that if a hammerstone was used at about a 45-degree angle, it could knock off small flakes of rock quite efficiently. By repeating this strike over and over, he was able to slowly shape stones into neat blocks. With enough effort, those blocks could be made to fit together with impressive accuracy. His work proved something very important. What looks like impossible perfection could actually be achieved through time, skill, and practice. Protzen showed that the Inca masons were not relying on hidden secrets, but on experience, daily labor, and the organization of large groups of workers who knew their craft well. Another set of insights comes from an architect who studied the walls not just as an archaeologist, but as someone who builds and understands construction methods. According to him, the Inca builders probably began by choosing stones that already had a general shape that could fit the space in the wall. Once the stone was chosen, it was roughly shaped, and then the real work began to make it fit more precisely. For smaller stones, the builders may have simply used trial and error, setting the stone in place, seeing where it did not fit, and then taking it out to hammer away at the rough spots before trying again. Spanish writers from the time of the conquest even recorded seeing Inca builders do this, but for the larger blocks, trial and error would have been too slow and too difficult. For those, the architect suggested that the builders used a more advanced method known as scribing. Scribing meant carefully marking the surfaces of the stones so that they would match well when put together. The builders could have used simple tools like plumb bobs, straight sticks, and tracing tools to mark exactly where one stone touched another. This would have helped them to carefully shape each block to fit without having to move the big stone in and out of place many times. The architect checked this way to the way log cabins are built, where each log is marked and so that it locks tightly with the next one. He also said that part-time wooden supports, posts, and keeping walls might have been used to keep stones steady while they were being changed. This explanation makes sense of how the Inca could work with such big stones without new cranes or machinery. It shows that their ways were practical, clever, and carefully thought out. When all of these details are put together, the fall of quality in later times, the story of stone softening liquid, the real proof found in quarries, the tests of new researchers, and the views of architects, we see a picture that is both human and extraordinary. The Inca were not magicians with secret powers. They were highly skilled workers, brought together by a powerful kingdom, and trained in ways that needed patience, practice, and teamwork. Their walls are not just a surprise, but also a proof to what human power can get with even the simplest of tools. If the topics about lost tools and shocking tools still leave us thinking, then how do the great stone sites of the Andes themselves show the true scale of this old puzzle? Let's learn more. The astonishing stonework of the Andes. High up in the Andes Mountains of Peru, far above the valleys and the clouds, stand some of the most shocking stone structures in the whole world. People who visit these sites always explain them as amazing and almost shocking, not only because of their size, but because of how well they were built. At places such as Sacsayhuaman, Ollantaytambo, Machu Picchu, Pisac, Tipon, and Moray, the ruins are not simply old walls or piles of stones. Instead, they are examples of engineering and building skills that do not seem to fit into the history we have been taught. The stones at these sites are not small or light. Many of them are so big that they weigh as much as buses, or even more. Some blocks are believed to weigh over 100 tons, and a few are even heavier. One of the most popular examples is Sacsayhuaman, which sits high above the city of Cusco. When you first stand before its walls, you see big blocks arranged in style that almost look like puzzle pieces. Some stones have as many as 12 sides well cut, so they fit with the stones around them. The spaces are so exact that people always think about how such work could have been done without new tools. Engineers today say that even with the best tools available, such as computer-assisted machines or diamond-tipped cutters, building something like this would take a lot of effort, time, and money. Yet these walls have stood for hundreds of years, surviving not only the passing of time, but also the harsh earthquakes that always shake Peru. When you travel to Ollantaytambo, another site in the Sacred Valley, the surprise becomes even more shocking. This fortress and temple complex lies nearly 9,200 feet above sea level, and it contains stones so large that moving them would be difficult even with today's technology. To make matters harder, the quarries where the stones came from are located across rivers and up steep mountainsides. Without wheels, without draft animals strong enough to pull such weight, and without flat roads, it is still a question how the builders managed to haul these stones across such rugged terrain. And yet, there they are, well-placed, silent proof that someone solved a problem that looks impossible to us now. Machu Picchu, the popular jewel of the Inca kingdom, adds another part to the puzzle. While many love the site for its beauty and amazing views, the real wonder lies in its building. The city was built on a thin mountain ridge, a place prone to landslides and earthquakes. Regardless of this, the builders created a system of terraces and drainage channels that kept the city stable and safe for years. These systems still work today, showing that the builders understood not only how to carve stone, but also how to plan for nature's issues. The stones at Machu Picchu are also cut with astonishing precision. Under close inspection, the seams are so tight that even the smallest gap is almost impossible to find. What makes all these structures even more fascinating is the type of stone used. The builders worked with materials such as andesite and diorite, which are very hard, nearly as hard as diamonds. To put it simply, it would be like trying to cut into solid steel with a wooden stick. Yet the old builders managed to shape these materials into smooth surfaces, sharp corners, and complex angles. This is something that, by all logic, should have been hard with the tools available to them. Adding to the mystery are the strange marks and strange shapes found on many of the stones. At some sites, blocks look like they have drill holes, notches, or smooth cut-out parts that look as though they were made by machines. Others have long, straight lines that look like the marks left by saws. In some cases, the stones look almost melted or molded, as if they had been soft like clay at some point. New science says that such stones cannot be softened without high heat or strong acids, none of which were available in old Peru. This has led to theories that the builders may have known ways that are now lost, maybe involving heat, vibration, or even chemicals made from plants. If the stones and walls themselves leave us shocked and full of questions, then what do the legends, oral histories, and global connections tell us about the builders and the knowledge they may have carried? Let's find out. Legends, lost knowledge, and global connections. Interestingly, stories from local traditions add weight to this idea. Plants that could soften stone are mentioned in both Amazonian and Andean folklore. Legends like these were heard by early explorers like Percy Fawcett. The stories imply that information that is no longer remembered may have existed in the past, even though no one has ever scientifically verified these plants. The fact that the Incas themselves never claimed to have constructed these enormous walls and foundations is also remarkable. When Spanish conquistadors arrived and saw these enormous structures, they asked the Inca how they were made. The Inca answered clearly, the walls were already there before them. They built their own impressive roads, terraces, and temples, but their work, while skillful, does not match the massive stones found at the bases of many sites. This suggests that the Inca inherited these foundations from a much older civilization. The problem for researchers is that dating these ruins is very difficult. Unlike wood or bone, stone cannot be carbon dated because it contains no organic material. The only option is to date materials found near or between the stones, such as bits of charcoal or remains of plants. Some of these samples have given results that suggest people were active in the Andes as far back as 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, maybe even earlier. This is long before the Inca rose to power in the 13th century. If accurate, it suggests a lost culture with far more advanced talents than we typically associate with ancient societies. Many researchers have resorted to theories of lost knowledge as a result of these conundrums. Some people think that a pre-Incan society might have created methods for working with stone that are beyond our current comprehension. This might have involved the use of heat, sound waves, or chemical derived from plants. Others say that when civilizations fall apart, the whole skill sets may vanish. This is always referred to as technological amnesia. According to the theory, a culture's knowledge might entirely go away if it is destroyed by fights, natural disasters, or migration, leaving only tangible parts. Other places of the world have similar mysteries, which adds to the story's intrigue. In places like Baalbek in Lebanon, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and the pyramids of Egypt, we see the same kinds of features: enormous stones, strange precision, and no clear answers about who built them or how. Although these sites are thousands of miles apart, they share what some call a global architectural fingerprint, as if ancient peoples everywhere once knew a set of skills that has since been lost. Legends from around the world also seem to echo each other. The Inca spoke of Viracocha, a figure who came after a great flood to rebuild civilization. The Greeks told stories of Atlantis, a lost world of great knowledge destroyed by catastrophe. The Sumerians recorded tales of advanced beings in the Epic of Gilgamesh. These stories may not be literal history, but they do suggest that ancient cultures carried memories of earlier, greater times. If a natural disaster or other cataclysm did erase advanced civilizations, perhaps the only things that survived were their hardest creations, the stones that we still see today. What is certain is that the ruins of Peru show a level of understanding that is hard to explain. The builders did not simply pile up rock. They created structures that were durable, earthquake-resistant, and environmentally adapted. They built with foresight, precision, and intelligence. And yet, the culture that left these megaliths behind is unknown to us. We have their stones, their walls, and their silent marks of genius, but not their names, not their book, not their tools. If Ollantaytambo leaves us wondering whether the Inca were really the first to shape such wonders, could the traces at other ancient stone sites quietly hint at civilizations that existed even earlier? Let's take a closer look. Echoes of a lost builder, stones, sun, and secrets before the Inca. Evidence found in Peru gives us many clues that the Inca people may not have been the very first to build on these high mountains. When looking closely at the ruins, some walls and foundations appear older and different in style compared to what the Inca usually built. This has led many experts to suggest that the Inca inherited certain sites that were already standing long before their empire came into power. Instead of tearing these structures down, the Inca built around them or on top of them, mixing their own work with what had already been created. This idea changes the way we usually think about history. It suggests that a much older group, one we know little about, had skills and knowledge that even the Inca respected, but may not have fully understood. A good example of this can be seen at Machu Picchu. At the lowest levels of the site, the stones are enormous. They are cut so carefully that the pieces fit together like they were pressed by a machine. These lower stones have survived centuries of earthquakes, rain, and wind without being pushed apart. When you compare them to the upper walls, the difference is clear. The higher sections, which are believed to be built by the Inca, use smaller stones. These walls are still strong and impressive, but they are not nearly as perfectly made as the foundations below. This contrast has led many to believe that the Inca did not start from nothing. Instead, they worked with a base that had already been built by a much earlier culture. The same thing can be seen at Ollantaytambo, another incredible site in Peru. One of the most famous features here is called the Wall of the Six Monoliths. This wall is built from giant blocks of stone, each one weighing more than 50 tons. Moving just one of these blocks today would require trucks, cranes, and weeks of effort. Yet these stones were placed side by side without any cement or mortar, and they fit together with almost unbelievable accuracy. Visitors often try to slip a knife blade or even a thin sheet of paper between the stones, but the gaps are so tight that nothing will fit. These stones are not plain or simple either. Some of them have small niches carved into them. Others have strange knobs or bumps that stick out from their surfaces. Archaeologists and engineers have wondered for years what these features mean. Some believe they were handles used to help move or lift the stones. Others think they had a symbolic or spiritual purpose, perhaps representing beliefs about the earth or the gods. Still others suggest they could be part of a forgotten building technique that we do not understand today. The one thing that is certain is that they are not random. They were carved on purpose, and they appear again and again across different sites. Another remarkable detail is the way these buildings are connected to the sun. At Ollantaytambo, there is a structure called the Temple of the Sun. During the solstices, the longest and shortest days of the year, the sunlight strikes certain points inside the temple with incredible accuracy. This shows that the builders understood how the sun moved across the sky and used that knowledge in their designs. The Inca, and perhaps the people who came before them, were not only skilled builders, but also careful observers of the heavens. Since the sun was worshipped as a powerful god, these alignments gave the structures both scientific and spiritual meaning. Taken together, the evidence paints a powerful picture. The huge stones at the base of many sites, the unique carvings and features, and the careful alignment with the sun all point to builders with skills that go far beyond what we normally imagine for the ancient world. What do you think about the mystery of the Inca stone walls? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.